Well, thanks for listening to the LCR Media Podcast, where we get to know the pros. I'm your host, LCR Naylor Taliaferro, and on today's episode, we have a special guest, Duane from Outerspaces. I almost said Outerscapes. Outerspaces Podcast. Duane, how are you this morning?
I'm doing pretty good, my man. Just enjoying. Let me take this back. We're not enjoying. This shit is cold out here. It was warm, 70 degrees on Saturday. And then Saturday night, it dipped down to like 35, and we got freaking snow and wind, and now there's snow on the ground. So I'm not enjoying the weather.
Where are you? Where are you at?
Chicago, man.
Chicago.
This shouldn't be new. Like, you know what I mean? This shouldn't be new. This is normal weather for us. I shouldn't even be upset. It is what it is.
Well, you're upset because you got teased. You know, you got that 70-degree tease, and then you're like, come on. So back to reality. Yeah.
And we knew it was coming. Like we had, in this business, everybody has like the crazy client. And when we saw the heat come in, that one crazy client contacted us. And we were like, here come crazy. And we're going to tell him, no, we're not showing up. You know what I mean? And why not? Why not? Like, dude, it's going to change tomorrow. We're not showing up.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. I'm in Virginia, so my weather's a lot more mild. So, right, it was like 80 degrees yesterday. We're like, oh, goodness gracious, here we go. Spring is here. But now it's down into like the 60s. So we're back to normal for this time of year. But it'll ramp back up again in the 70s and 80s, and it'll be like that forever. And then it'll get into the hundreds, and it gets crazy. So it was a cold winter this year, though. But I think that's just because we were used to mild winters. So it was more of a normal winter for us. People were like, 30 degrees. What's going on with this? But yeah. But
Taylor, what is cold? What is cold to you? Like,
wait, time out. I'm originally from the New York State, so I know cold and I know snow. I only knew two seasons, winter and summer, hot, cold, and you get a day transition in between the two, and that's it. That's why we moved down south a little bit further, so we could have more. We could have all four seasons. I wanted to go to like Florida. My wife's like, "Whoa, hold on, that's way too far, way too hot all the time." She likes the heat and being outside, but that's a little too much. So let's meet somewhere in the middle, like the central of the country, where we have like more mild climate, all four seasons. We go from one extreme to the other. We go from New York to Florida. I was like, all right. So that's how we ended up kind of in Virginia. So yeah, we're enjoying it. We're outdoor people. We love it, which is kind of like the whole point of our industry, our businesses, our podcast. So let's just kind of allude right into that. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, Duane?
You have to say multi-level, and I'm learning that I'm even having more and more levels. Like, how you're always taught to go to school, find a career, get a job, and work the rest of your life in that career. I'm learning that, especially now that I want to say I had like this awakening like 2 years ago and 3 years ago. And now I'm a little bit of everything. Like, my full-time gig, can you say, is I'm an owner of a company called VizX Design Studios. We're an outdoor living design firm. So we design projects all over the United States, but we design and manage basically local here in the Chicago market. And we design some really badass modern outdoor living spaces. Like our average job is about $150K and above, and we just do some amazing work. Then I'm very well known for negative edge swimming pools and things like that. So I designed those negative edge pools and outdoor living spaces around the pools throughout the country: California, Texas, Ohio, Florida. I've been all over the country doing that. Two, I'm a pilot, so my hobby is I fly planes. We're actually, as you were trying to get the podcast together, I was actually I'm looking at purchasing a plane. So I'm sort of going through what it costs and can I afford it, which as of right now as we speak, no, but in the future, I'm just going to make it happen. Three, I DJ. I actually, I don't have any gigs yet. I actually retired about 8-9 years ago, and it looks like I'm picking it back up, having a lot of fun. So, and I'm a father, 3 kids, a husband. So there's just a lot in life than just a job per se. I enjoy living life on a daily basis.
Wow. Yeah, that is a lot of stuff for sure. What's your origin story? What got you to that point? You say you just kind of started figuring things out a couple of years ago. Like what how did you get there? Because we all have origin stories, and I try to share as much of those on my podcast and really get some inspiration for people and from people. And, whether you were born into this industry or you came from tough times or all the above, like there's a lot of ideas out there and inspiration and things for other folks that are listening in. So how did you get to that point a couple years ago?
I'll try to answer this real fast. I could be long-winded. Let me see if I can answer this one really fast. There's this thing called X, Y, and Z. Okay. X is something that happens to you when you're around 3 to 6 years old and you realize that something's not right in life. Okay. Y happens to you somewhere around your teens. And then you realize sort of you're single out, you're different. And then Z is something that happens to you somewhere close to your early 20s. You realize that you're on your own in life. So what happened is, and this is 3 years ago, I figured this out. X, I was around maybe 5 or 6. My dad was leaving the house and he told me to shut the door. And I had to take a running start and slam the door because this is an old school house, so the door swells. I had to take a running start and shut the door. Well, he must have been having some type of day or didn't realize that that's what it takes from a little kid. And he came back in and he whooped me. Okay. And my dad is not like the whooping dad. Like my dad is like the coolest MFer on this earth. Like if there was more people like him, the cops would have to direct traffic. Seriously. Like he was just that cool. He didn't even really cuss and he didn't even really go to church. Like he was just a cool dude. And so what happened was, this is I figured this out 3 years ago. I spent my life following him and trying to prove to him that I was the nice guy. I wasn't that guy that he thought, because when he was whooping me, he was telling me, stop being mean. And I'm like trying to prove to him I'm the nice guy. Yeah. Well, he had a job as a superintendent at a college, and he also had like a landscaping thing on the side. So I was always the kid who went with him day in, day out to work with him. And I didn't realize that at that young age, I was just trying to connect with him to let him know that I was the good guy. Right. And so my whole entire life, I ended up getting into this whole landscape industry to still keep showing him that I was this good guy.
Gotcha.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it all stems from your childhood, right? Or at some point early in your life. It's all about our environment, our experiences, and that's, or lack thereof. And that's where it directs us through life. And like to your point, usually at some point when you get to a certain age, you kind of start figuring some of this stuff out, or someone, helps figure it out or points it out to you. And then you kind of, pivot maybe if you need to and transition into other things. But that got you into basically the green industry, right? So, and which you still currently are in to an extent, right? In addition to a lot of other things. That's really cool that you're a pilot, by the way. I just really wanted to say that. I haven't met too many pilots. I've met a lot of people that want to be a pilot and fly things and all that, but own their own helicopters one day and all that kind of stuff. But that's pretty cool. So congratulations on that, man. That must be a really cool experience to be flying up there and be in control of all that, right? It's
actually both. It's scary as hell, and it's joy. It's joy. It's on the same plane. You can't have two planes in your same brain. Like you can't be happy and sad at exactly the same time. Like one occupies the space, but when you're flying some way, shape, or form, the fear is as great as the joy. And they hover right beside each other. It's amazing.
Wow. That's probably why a lot of people do that, because they really want to be right on that threshold right there. Yeah. It's a thrilling experience. I can imagine. That's awesome. So getting back into landscaping, so you have your own business, and what made you want to start your own business? Like you were a part of this industry for a while, you said, right? Basically your whole your whole life, and then you decided to start your own business specifically. What was the origin story there?
Actually, I've been in as a business owner pretty much all my entire life. Like I've only I'm 45 right now, actually 46. I'll be 46 this year. I've only had 2 jobs my entire life, and they both combined last 2 years. And so the lawn care, I followed my father. I did go to the Marine Corps when I was 18 and came back. And then when I came back, I got right into the grass cutting business again. So we had this grass cutting business. We had over 100 and something clients. And so my job was to grow it. We ended up with apartment complexes. We had some McDonald's contracts. I mean, we had some pretty nice. So we had a college campus. We had some pretty nice accounts. And it was then my brothers, it was my brothers, so it was three of us, Andrew and Roy, and we all worked together. And then I took off and basically handed the lawn care over to them, and I moved into laying brick pavers. And so for about 12 years, we built a brick paver business, and we built a company called Paverstone Design Group, and a pretty nice firm. Actually, this company is starting to beat that one, but did over $6 million in that one. And then I sold out about 9 years ago and started Vizex Design Studios, this one, because brick pavers was cool, but we were just laying paver patios, and there wasn't really anything great to that. I didn't feel like we were adding any value to homes. I did take some architectural engineering courses when I was in high school, so I'm bringing more of the architectural style back to the industry, and we feel like we're adding value. So our jobs, they consist of the 3 zones: kitchen, dining, lounge. We have architectural connection, and we have seamless transition from the interior to the exterior is what our projects are about.
Nice. Well, that's awesome, man. Where do you see that business going in the future? Like, what are some of your future plans?
Right now it's booming. And I know COVID has a lot to do with it, but I also think that even as COVID dwindles down, this company is now solidified of a company that has value, meaning that clients, when they call us, they know they're not getting just a basic paver patio. So we have a certain niche that it's, like I said, we're very modern in our designs. We use several different kinds of materials, so you just don't get one paver and one dry gray look in your backyard. We use wood staining. We use composites. We use concrete. We use pavers. We use stone. And so just amazing spaces. And I see it exploding. Like, I really see us franchising or having micro offices in different cities across the country. I'm already looking at locking in Atlanta, and I'm looking at opening up some stuff in Dallas, Texas. So I got those two on my radar right now. Nice.
Wow, that's exciting stuff on the horizon. So let's transition or pivot into the podcast. So how did you start getting into the Outerspaces podcast?
Well, Joshua and I, Joshua was part of the transformation I went to. He went to, it's weird, like, it's not weird, but I guess it's, things that are meant to be. Joshua was going to a Tony Robbins UPW in Chicago 4 years ago. And we had only met on social media, and he actually met me. I didn't really know who he was. And he contacted me through Facebook Messenger and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Chicago. You pick a restaurant." I'm like, "All right, cool." So we met, and it was almost like a date. It's funny, like we're both far from being like that. Like, I'm married and I chase women like crazy, and he's married and he is like so. But it was almost like we were checking each other out. Like, okay, who's this guy? Who's this guy? And we started talking about our goals and our plans and sort of our life future. And it was like, whoa, we kind of mesh, and it's pretty dope that he has the same goals and I did. We were like, that's pretty dope. And so he went to the UPW, and Tony Robbins rocked his life. Like, it changed him in all kind of ways. And while he was there, maybe I was fresh on his mind. As soon as he got out, he bought some tickets for me. And we didn't even really know each other. It was his first time meeting, and he bought me a ticket to go to this UPW. And so a year later, I went to the UPW, and it rocked my world. And I'm like, I came out like, holy shit, like, I want to change the world. I see life different. I enjoy work, but I want to enjoy living my life over work. And so that started, and Joshua created a company called Yes Express. And it was basically teaching contractors how to sell. And he put me through the class. I was his first student, and he started noticing that my company was growing really fast. And then he said, let's add a design element to it. And so I came in to partner with him on the design side. And we decided, like, hey, let's promote sort of in a guerrilla style marketing through Facebook, through social media, all kind of ways. And then he said, let's create a podcast. And this is how I think we're 60 episodes so far, and it's doing very well. And that's sort of how it became about.
How long ago was that you started the podcast, 60 episodes ago?
I think we're about to run up on a year.
Oh, nice. So how many episodes do you put out normally? Like what's
they put out one a week. Sometimes we've had some where we dropped, like 2 and 3, like for some special events or something like that. But normally once a week, it comes out on Wednesday mornings. We have about 6 or 7 that's already shot and just waiting. In the queue, waiting to go out. So we'll shoot 1 or 2 on every Tuesday to get them going.
And so you and Joshua co-host that podcast as much as possible?
Correct.
This is Jacob Godard with Scooters Lawn Care. And if you're listening to LCR because you care about growing your business, I want to tell you the secret sauce that helped me scale my business past $2.3 million in top-line revenue in 2021. We worked with Lightspeed Social Agency to focus on the best possible neighborhoods in our service areas. Working with them is so easy, and everything they create is high quality. Their team monitors results and sends regular updates to our dashboard. There's a link in the description of this episode to a case study of what Lightspeed has done for our business.
And what is the theme? What does it focus on, that podcast?
We're based, it started off as let's show contractors how to design and sell. But how many episodes can you do of showing people how to design and sell and not giving away the entire business that we have? Because we want contractors to come to our business. Right. So because Joshua and I met on a mindset basis and our mindset change, our focus has really been mindset. Like, we're talking, but we're also speaking of, what are you thinking about? How are you thinking? Are you making an impact in this world? What type of changes are you making? And so we put a lot of emphasis and effort on that. Even our guests will sort of steer them into a mindset moment. We have a lot of aha moments. It's almost like watching the Oprah Super Soul Sunday, when you listen to it sometimes.
Nice. Well, with that, on that same grain, what's one that stands out? What's one aha moment that stands out to you?
An aha moment from the show? From the
show, yes.
Man, there's probably just not one. It's almost...
Well, no, I know. You can name a bunch if you want. I didn't want to put you on the hook too far. I tell you what, one of the most powerful one that is actually traveling is Joshua and I, we had an event one time, we were talking about proximity is power, like who you are is who you become. And not the people that you're around. Okay. Like, so who you're around every day, who you associate with is who you become. So proximity is power. That statement is hit so strong. I've actually seen people at events come to us, and one guy actually had a T-shirt on it, and he had it made to Proximity's Power, and he was waiting to see me with this shirt on. Like, he had this shirt made at this event, and he made it to take a picture beside me with this shirt. So that was a very powerful statement. Wow.
That I think that was strong. It ran with it.
And what does that mean? Proximity is power. Like, can you dig into that a little bit? Like, what do you what's your mindset with that?
Okay, I'm about to nerd you out real fast.
That's all good. That's what we're all about here on the LCR Media Podcast, higher learning.
Yeah, there's a thing called harmonious connection. Okay, and what that is, just a law of the universe, and there's no way around it. It is what it is. It's always there. And the best way to explain it, especially for landscapers, they can understand it better, that like plants grow according to their environment. It doesn't matter what you do to the plant. Like, it might not die. Like, if you take a plant from Florida and take it to Chicago, it might not necessarily die, but it's going to grow according to the characteristics of the way it's going to grow in that climate. And that's what some plants do. Like, they just don't give you everything. And let's say a Florida plant in a Chicago market, it might live, but it's just not going to give you everything that it normally will give you. And so what happens is it takes on its environment. And the same way with human beings and people, it doesn't matter how smart you are. Matter of fact, that's even worse. Even if you're an intelligent person in a bad environment, you're actually going to take on that bad environment. You can't be smarter than the environment. And so what happens is the environment that you're in is who you become. It's a reason why, like, say, if you take some bad neighborhood, some kids in a bad neighborhood, those same kids, if they were raised in another neighborhood, they would actually be really good kids, because that's why the really good kids are in the good areas and the really bad kids are in the bad areas. So, like, I don't want to get political here, but when they're pointing fingers of the brothers in the hood and saying they're this, saying that, they're just in bad areas. You know what I mean? And
right.
Sometimes we need to stop pointing fingers at these brothers in the hood and call them thugs and gangsters and whatever. They're just in a bad neighborhood. They got to fight to survive. If you put those same kids in the burbs, they're going to be good kids. And that's sort of proximity's power. Who you're around is who you become. And like, you got to take a look at your top 5 friends. And I'm being really, this is for your listeners. Mm-hmm. If you got some friends in your top 5 and they're full of shit, cut them. Okay. Holding them as your friends does not make your life better. It doesn't matter what they did for you. It doesn't matter what. They don't make your life better. Now, if they took a bullet for you, you can still be cool with them, but you don't hang around them because you will become them. You got to look at your top 5. If you want to be successful in life and you want to make it, your top 5 got to be striving for that success too. They got to be successful because you are who you am. You show me your 5 friends and I'll tell you what your life is like.
Yeah, I've heard that before for sure. Yeah. No, that's good, man. You're speaking my language. Not very many guests on the show are at that level of thinking, but Keith Kalfas is one of them, and it's all about the vibration, the frequency, the energy, all that, and getting around the good energy and the positivity. I mean, there's so many people also out there in the world that say that. So I totally get that. And I like the way that you say that proximity is power. So I like that. That's why I wanted to dig into that. So thank you for that. The other question I wanted to ask is what's one episode or a couple of your top episodes on your podcast that you would direct people to, like, first time, like, hearing about your podcast, like, man, you got to listen to this episode or this specific, because of this specific guest or whatever. Doesn't necessarily have to know the episode title or number specifically, but maybe just what it's about to kind of get people to go to that episode and why, like something you're really proud of or think it's impactful.
It's so funny. I'm really bad at that. Like, once those episodes drop, they're dropped.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know the names of them.
But what about the guests? Like, I know you mentioned about some of the guests, or you didn't mention the names, but you've said some guests, that you have on and different, aha moments you're saying. So you went into aha moments. What about guests? What about some aha guests?
I'm actually trying to pull one. Actually, one of the aha guests we had, he was on the Yard Crasher TV show, Ahmed Hassan. He dropped one, and it's smashing through the walls with HGTV host Ahmed Hassan. Mm-hmm. He dropped some jewels. Like, dude, it was like sort of earth shattering. And then the other one that I think was really powerful is Ready, Fire, Aim is the key to growth.
Okay.
That one, I got a lot of messages, just private messages after that one. That was earth shattering, I think. And it was really, what it was about is the things that you want in life, you just have to go get them. You cannot sit around. You can't talk about them. You can't hope that osmosis or dreaming about it is going to bring it to you. You got to get off your ASS and you got to go grab it. You got to go get it. And you got to go push through regardless if you have it or not. Like, I'm learning that. And just even working with Ahmed, we did a project in Florida, close to $300,000 job for a little girl with cancer. None of us had any money. He didn't have any money to do it. I didn't have any money to do it. We had 200 volunteers and raised the money within a month and a half. And we flew down to Florida. Even Southwest Airlines paid for our flights. I mean, it was crazy that a big brand name like that will just pay for 2 brothers to fly out to Miami and do an amazing job like that. But we didn't have the money, but we put forth the effort and energy as if nothing was in our way. And that right there was one of the proof. It proved to me that it happened, but it even took me 5 more years after that to understand how powerful that mindset is.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that is powerful for sure. And I've also witnessed things like that too with different guests and some experiences. That's you just have to just take action. You just have to just go get it. I don't know if you're a fan of Will Smith and some of his quotes over the years, but he's been known for having a lot of great quotes, and his book just came out not too long ago, and I listened to that book, and that's like, talk about his quotes. That's like the epic, it's all everything about him. So that I recommend that on a side note too. But he's very insightful. He's got a lot of good things to say, and he's been known, for me anyway, I've wanted one of his many quotes to say things like that too, like just decide what you want to do and do it. and then kind of like everything just moves out of your way, like to make it all happen for you. Once you decide, it's like you put this action into the universe and you just start doing things towards that goal, and things just start working out. I mean, it doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect. Obviously, there's going to be other things that are going to try and get in the way and derail you here and there. But overall, when you're focused and you just take action, you just start doing something, especially when it's aligned with what you are supposed to be doing, what you want to be doing, what the energy around you is saying to do. It's like, boom, it's like that's what you were meant to do. And now everything is just conspiring for you instead of against you to do it. So that right what you just said was a perfect example of that. So I totally subscribe to that 100%. So what are some of the things, what are some, I guess, some goals or the future of the podcast? Do you see anything in the near future? You're going to keep going with it?
Well, podcasts, we're killing it. I think we're just getting started. Our ultimate goal is not the podcast per se. Our ultimate goal is touching the contractors and getting them to understand exactly what you're talking about. One of the things about awakening and having that awakening is the hard part to help other people awaken. One, they have to want to awaken. And then the problem is a person who wants to awake cannot just say, I want to awaken, because they don't even understand what awakening is. That's the other part. Then it's almost sort of like riding a bicycle analogy. Like everybody thought the first time they learned how to ride a bike, they learn how to ride a bike. And what they really learn how to do is they learn how to balance. They figured out balance. And so you don't even know what balance is until you actually figure out, you actually have an aha moment and you're like, holy shit, I'm riding. And you don't realize that it's balance that you figured out. And that's all you needed to figure out in the beginning. Like pedaling and steering, you know if you pedal this way, it's going to go. If you hold it like that, it's going to go. Like, you know, falling over is one thing, but getting that bike up on the balance, that was the hardest part. And it's the same thing with, opening up your minds and your mentals and things like that. Like Will Smith, you and I probably all heard it. I heard him for years. I was like, that was dope. But I didn't even really understand what Will Smith said up until 3 years ago. Keith Kalfas, I used to listen to him all the time. And I remember one episode, he was saying about how broke he was and something changed. And I'm like, damn, Keith, I'm thinking to myself, like, damn, what is he saying? Like I couldn't, and I would listen to it, like, what is he saying? I didn't get it because I was broke too. I was struggling. I was trying to figure out what he got that I couldn't figure out. And even like a year later, I was still broke. I'm like, damn, what did Keith do that I didn't get? And so it was like 3 years ago, I had this awakening. It was like in a distinct moment. It hit me like, boom. And I realized that the present moment was all we got. This is it. This is it right now. Boom. Just right now. Just right now. This moment is our most important moment in life. Like you and I lived our entire lives just for this moment right here, because yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not here yet. And so everything is lived right now. And then everything that you think right now creates the future. So if you're thinking some bullshit, or you're thinking you're in trouble, or you're thinking you're broke, or you're sad, you're just creating another ripple effect for some more sadness. So you got to protect your mindset right now and always think positive and always think great. And it's not just thinking positive. It's knowing that nothing is wrong, knowing that you're going to be able to do what you need to do. If you know now and use this second now, you create that ripple for the next second. So that's what we're really portraying in our podcast. It's not the podcast per se. We're not really podcasters. Josh and I just do it, and we happen to have people to help us do it. We probably suck at it. We're getting better at it. But it's really getting people to understand, can we wake it up? There's only 2% of the people in the world who actually live their true, authentic life. That's it. 98% of the world live in fear, and they do shit because they think they have to, and they don't do shit because they want to. Well, only 2% do. I feel like we're a part of that 2%er. And at least if we can get a 3% awaken, or we can get up to 4%, which is billions of people, can we do that? But our goal is to reach 5 million contractors in the next 2 years. Nice.
So was Tony Robbins the seminar that you went to? Was that when you had your aha moment, right? Was that when you were like, holy cow, and you came out of that, and then you've been feeling this way and had this mindset?
It was 2 events, and it's actually, it's 2 million contractors in 5 years. I said that backwards. But what happened was the Tony Robbins, I was in a spiral, man. Like I was really bad. Like I've always been business successful. I mean, for a very long time. Like, I mean, if I compare myself to my peers and my family, I always been business successful, but I always struggled at that. Like, I could never really keep the money. I could make money or have spans where I make money, lost money. And then I would be high and be low, be up and be down. And I was in a bad space, like mentally. And the Tony Robbins, there was 2 events that did it. The Tony Robbins taught me how to love myself and believe in myself. And so look in the mirror and enjoy who I was looking at. You know what I mean? This amazing guy, instead of beating myself up. Like it's kind of weird, you know, people like get high and stuff like that. I could never really get high because the moment I get high, I'll start dogging myself. Like, you know, you're not trash.
Right.
You know, you owe this person money, blah, 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 blah. And so that did that. And then Tony Robbins taught me massive action. You mean, love yourself, enjoy yourself, fall in love with your heart, thank your heart, give gratitude for what you have, but get your ASS out there and go give it all you got, even more, and get it. Massive action, because you're probably not doing enough if you're not somewhere where you need to be. And that hit. Then I went to like a landmark forum, which was totally on an accident, from some girl I met at a bar. And she paid for me and signed me up to this event. Really didn't know her. And it was like 45 days later, and the landmark forum hit me to present. I remember the second till this day of being in the present moment and what it felt like and what it looked like. And then having that understanding that this moment right now is the most important moment in life. I remember that very second when it happened, and there's no turning back from there.
And what was it about that made that happen? Just a feeling, energy, conversations, talk. Like, you know, a lot of people are familiar with Tony Robbins and a lot of things that he does and the way he talks, and you can kind of envision like what his seminar looks like. Obviously, not being there, you don't really know. But what happened with this other event that you were at? Toro's new Revolution Series lineup provides you with a smarter, more connected fleet that makes your operation more efficient than ever before. It's the products you already know and love, just supercharged with Toro's HyperCell battery system. Learn all about Toro's new Revolution Series line at revolution.toro.com or click the link tree in the episode description to get you there fast.
The other event was... it's called the Landmark Forum, and there's like 160 something random people that was there. And they start, well, obviously there's a forum leader, but she starts off by having people tell their stories and opening them up of their lives. And what we saw is, out of 160 random people that you're, people have gone through some effed up stuff in their lives that completely controls their life. Like, you and I can go to a random grocery store and line up 75 people and hear their stories, and you would probably be in tears within 5, hearing these people's stories, like the molestation. One girl lost her brother. One girl was watching her brother, and her dad said to her that, you know, you have to keep an eye out on your brother, and that's your job. And so they were going outside, and as they were going outside, her dad stopped her again, said, hey, you got to keep your eye on your brother. And her brother took off running outside and got hit by a car and died. And her dad blamed her for that. And he was the one who even stopped her. And she was like 6 or 7 at the time it happened. And at the forum, she's 30 years old, and her entire life was controlled by that. I mean, that's where I find out why I follow my dad, because after my father died, I went flat broke. Like, I went broke for 5 years, could not get it right, couldn't figure out what was going on. And what the reason was is I had always followed him. And so when he died, I had nobody to show success to. And so I couldn't figure out what was going on. And there's just so many different stories that you heard. And what they were saying is, they were explaining that, yes, these things happen, but they happen at the time that they happen. And if you don't get out of the story and if you don't get out of the loop, it's creating your future too. And then there was a moment where, I mean, people even walked out, but there was a moment where they were like, the lady basically said, life is empty and meaningless. And people were like, holy shit, what does that mean? There's more to life than that. And when she said that, I got what she said. I got it. Because life is only this second. That's all life is. It's this very second right here. And I remember when I got it, I looked over and Brandy was a girl in the class. And I looked at Brandy eye to eye. And it's like that moment, the lights in the room changed. I heard the air conditioning system. I heard the train passing by. I heard the car horns honking because we were downtown Chicago. I heard movement in the air. Up until that, I never paid attention to any of it. And I heard it all for that very second. And it was like the moment I realized what I was doing, it stopped. And that's sort of how the present moment works. Is it's so powerful that if you're in it and you realize that you're in it, it stops because you realize that you're in it. Your brain wants to take over. But it was like from that moment, I realized that nothing is greater than the very moment of right now. Like this is where life is. If you're not happy now, if you're not living it now, if you're not going after it right now, you're not doing anything. Everything is, you're wasting time. And we only have limited time. This time is finite on this earth. And like, there's going to come to a time where we can't see, we can't walk, we're dead. You know what I mean? So we can't use anything. So right as you have it right now, you have to use it. This is our life experience right now. And so if we're not living it, like that's the DJing, the flying, you mean the hiking, the podcast, hanging out with Joshua, you mean these things are me living, and I'm living it as much as I possibly can. Like I even fly commercially just as much as I fly the plane. And I have an Instagram page. It's called Flight Level 350. So FL 350 window seat. And I take photos out of the window seat and just post them on Instagram.
Nice, man. Well, thank you for sharing all that. One final thing of this whole topic that is, was great stuff. It was some eye-opening for me too, and also kind of reiterating a lot of things that I've heard over the years and think about and subscribe to. So hopefully the listeners will have gotten some more, or maybe something, they have their aha moment, something clicks there too. But I did want to ask, while you were talking about all this, I was thinking to myself, were you married at that point, or was it after this aha moment and all that you met your wife and got married?
Dude, we're about to hit 20 years.
Really? Congratulations.
Yeah.
So that makes me ask, what happened with that transition? Because clearly she would have noticed something too, right? So if you're willing to share, like what kind of transition was that? Because that's a big deal for a lot of people. That can change relationships, whether it be friendships, marriages, and so on.
Huge shift. Isabel, my wife, has always been seeking. She's been sort of a seeker for longer than me. And after I got back from the UPW, my mind shift had switched to, I was out of fight or flight. And I was like, I had no fears, fearless. Like, I'll put it out there. I was actually getting evicted from my apartment, actually condo at the time, on the exact same day that the Tony Robbins UPW event was starting. That was the court date. It wasn't even my first eviction. It was several. Like I was in that much of a struggle. I had basically said, I've been to the other eviction hearings and I know what it's like. I'm going to go to this UPW and hopefully I get something from it. I didn't even know where I was going to get at the UPW. So when I got back, I had a whole different attitude. I got back on Monday. My court hearing was on Tuesday. I went there and said, listen here, I'm sick of you. I'm sick of this. I sort of just stood strong in that. And I'm coming to a story. I stood strong in the court. I basically told the landlord, you're a piece of SHIT. We'll be out of there in 3 weeks. My wife is tugging on me like, hey, calm down, chill out. We got more time. And I'm tugging her back like, calm the F down. I got this. You know what I mean? And what she said was, that guy that I saw in that courtroom was somebody that I wanted to be, and it was amazing. And so whatever had happened, I had changed to believing in myself and believing that anything could happen in life and nothing was going to hold me down. I was flat broke, but I ended up coming up with $8,000 in the 3 weeks. I even moved out to a better place. And I even, by the time we moved, I had movers moving us. So that's how much money I'd made in that quick amount of time, because it's just something snapped. The relationship even though she was a seeker, we started to struggle really bad in a relationship because she was still, and it was okay, she was still in the fight or flight mentality because we had been in fight or flight for so many years. Like we've had car repos, we had eviction hearings, we had credit card loss, we lost bank accounts, our credit scores were down into the dumps. I mean, we were barely paying bills. There was times when we starved. So she was still in fight or flight. And just because I got out of it, she wasn't out of it. And then I had a moment where she didn't have. And so we had a struggle. I mean, we had a really bad relationship struggle where we almost lost the relationship. I mean, and it luckily, when I went to the Landmark Forum, she saw a whole nother form of confidence and peace that I got out of Landmark. She was like, let me go to the Landmark. So I was able to get her to go to a Landmark before she went to a UPW. So I got her into the Landmark. She went there. She came back and she calmed down. She saw the president. She didn't get the same power that I got from the Landmark. And then luckily we got her. I went to the UPW in July. We got her to the UPW in November. And when she came back to the UPW, it was on. Like the whole relationship changed. Like I'll throw it out there. We still now have sex at least five times a week. I mean, we've been married 20 years. And
Good job.
Five to 7 times a week.
Nice.
It's crazy. It's
wow.
crazy.
It's like re-sparked your marriage there.
It's insane, bro. Like we have a whole nother level of relationship now. And now she's a woman's coach. She has a Loud Whisper is the name of her organization, Reignite Your Voice. And she takes women and puts them through programs and help them awaken. And she's just doing amazing things right now that we were able to both have these moments. And it's just a beautiful moment.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing. That is super powerful on so many levels. And I know there's a lot of ways that people will connect with that, just because of the nature of our industry and entrepreneurism in general is, it can be a lonely place. It can be tough to be married to someone that's an entrepreneur and all that. So there's so many dynamics just with that alone. So this definitely overlaps and pairs well with that. So thank you again for sharing all of that information. I think we really dug into some good things on this episode. Before we wrap up, I know we're getting short on time, but I forgot to prepare you before we got on before I hit record. I have this thing called pod decks. So my audience would be upset if I didn't bust this out, especially after such a good episode that we had and so much insight that you dropped. But basically what this is it's an interview deck. It's just, I didn't create this. It's out there for anyone to use. I can give you the info, poddex.com, but there's a lot of great resources there for podcasters just to make it fun and different and exciting. So there's just a whole bunch of random questions on these cards. And you just pull them at random, and like ones will say, what would be your best day ever? And then there's like other ones that are a little more insightful, like, or whatever, like what's left on your bucket list, things like that. So it's just totally off topic questions. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. It could potentially, but so they're just random questions. So I usually when we're live, I let the guests pick a couple random cards. And then when we're remote or virtual, I randomly pick them. And you can watch me randomly pick them. So, and then I'll read them and you answer the question if you feel comfortable. Again, there's nothing, I took out some ones that are a little more controversial just to keep it as lighthearted as possible, but it gets to a different side of the guest. People really enjoy that part at the end of the show. So are you down?
Okay, let's do it.
All right. That's good. So you see, here's the cards here. I'm not going to look. I'm just going to pull one here. What's this? All right. So this one says you have $100K you have to donate or create a charity. What do you do?
$100K to donate or create a charity. That's actually easy. I actually done that before, not with my 100K, but somebody else's. But
nice.
I met Hassan and the guy from Yard Crashers HGTV show. We put together this group called Sustainable Heroes, and we did 3 projects throughout the United States. We did the little girl with the little 3-year-old girl who had neuroblastoma cancer, and she couldn't go play at the playground. So we dropped a $300,000 playground in her backyard. We did a school garden for Bullock Elementary out in New Jersey. Then we did a battered homeless military and women's shelter out in San Diego, Escondido. It was a $400,000 project. We did it in 4 days. So $100K, and I had that. I would actually start Sustainable Heroes back up. and I would bring back in the team and do that. And that's something that's really holding heavy on my heart. And I probably, let me take that. I do 50-50. I do 50 sustainable heroes. And I think I'll go into the hood and the bad neighborhoods and teach some of these young bros that they can live a better life than walking around with choppers and shooting each other and smoking and getting high all day. Like that one really weighs on my heart, one of the most. I can't stand seeing it. I hate seeing those guys get shot. I hate seeing them being targeted. And I know they're being targeted because they're in the bad areas, but they're in the bad areas because they're in bad areas, you know?
Yeah. 100%. All right, let me pull another one here. Let's see. If you could ask one person one question and they had to answer truthfully, who and what would you ask?
This is gonna get you in trouble.
Gonna get me in trouble.
This is gonna get me in trouble.
Oh no!
I would like to ask Martin Luther King how many chicks did he have on the side?
Oh,
because I know he did.
Yeah, of course.
Don't try to play it off.
Oh,
I know he did.
I mean, when you're that slick, I mean, when you're that cool, man, there's no way, right?
Yeah, and he got away with it too.
Yeah. No, but that's a fair question for a lot of historical people, to be honest. You know, as more truth comes out, you're like, huh. But you know what that does for me? It makes a lot of times we look at folks like that and we look at them on this pedestal of like they're untouchable and you know we can't even, you know, do anything like that or whatever. You know, like there's a huge separation, it seems like. But when you start to learn things like that, it makes you realize that they're human just like us. And yes, they did remarkable things and they were remarkable people, but they're still human. They had flaws. They made mistakes. They learned. They grew. They're human beings just like us. And hopefully that shortens that gap a little bit for those of us that really do want to aspire to be at that level. And maybe that was the spark, you know, like, oh, wow, you know, okay, you know, it's not some unattainable thing. Like, you know, they're human just like me. Maybe I can keep, you know, getting after it and things like that. So I think that's a funny and valid question for sure. Oh, that's all right. Let's pick one more before we go. All right, let's see. Hopefully this is a good one. All right. Well, here's one this could be a little deeper. What is your greatest regret?
You know, I'm sort of like a Jay-Z. I live a life without regret. Okay. If I had to regret anything, it is things that hurt others. You know, because I really live a life like the decisions that I made. That was the mindset that I was in at the time. They might have been good. If I knew better, I would have done better. But one of the greatest regrets is if I hurt anybody in the path, I wish that I did not hurt them. And I hope that just the life that I live now, the energy that I can give apologies and sorries and let them know that I wasn't, it wasn't my plan. I was actually watching something that 50 Cent says that everybody hurts somebody. And he said, like, say like a district attorney, they may slam you for 100 years for a small, offense. But you got to understand, they're trying to get a better job in the office. So they're looking at you like, well, you mean it's too much? You did the crime, because they're trying to look for their advancement. It's the same thing with a business owner. Like, they may make a move that shut down one division because it's losing money to make some more money somewhere, and they just hurt over 100 and some people, but they're looking at the business. So everybody's sort of hurting each other. And so that's sort of one of the regrets that I have. If I hurt somebody, I wish, I hope they would let it go. I hope they would reach out and say, hey, Duane, you hurt me. Let's talk about it. And I would apologize or talk to them. That's about one of the biggest regrets that I say I would have. I never really even said that to anybody live. Thanks for asking that question. Yeah.
No worries, man. I agree too with the no regrets. Like, because for one thing, everything that happened got you to today, right? Everything in the past gets you to the present. So if you would go back, another way to ask is, if you can go back in time, what would you change, or what would you tell yourself? Like, that's just going to change where you are today. And those are all the movies are based on that. You go back in time, you're going to mess everything up. Who knows if that would really be true. But the point is, the experiences of the past bring you to today. So if you if you regret that kind of stuff or you want to change that stuff, then you're going to change where you are today. So, but totally, like I agree. It is some of the things in the past are sad and painful, and you wish that, maybe that you could have avoided some of that pain and the collateral damage that caused. But at the end of the day, the past created your present. And, we've talked in detail about how important that is to live in the present and not focus on the past. So thank you for sharing all that and really diving into that. And I think we'll end on that note. So Outerspaces, that's the podcast where everyone can find you guys. And anything else you want to shout out that you can help contractors?
I'm promoting my page, Outerspaces Podcast. Make sure you get that. Yes Express is the business that Joshua and I we run together. We're design sales coaches. So Joshua teaches the sales side. I teach the design side. And it's a really amazing program to get these hardscape contractors, up to making more money. Like our students, when they come out, they'll be selling an average job of $8,000. They'll come out to 50, 60, and 100K when they're out. My business is VizX Design Studios, outdoor living design firm based out of Chicago. And I also Flight Level FL 350 window seat on Instagram. Check that out. Pretty neat videos of just sitting in the window seat of the airplane. You get to see landing, takeoffs, clouds, all kind of other stuff if that excites you.
Nice. Well, thank you, Duane, for being on the LCR Media Podcast and sharing all the insights and experiences and being candid with a lot of those things, personal things. I really appreciate it. I know a lot of listeners will get some benefit out of that. I got benefit for sure. So I will continue to listen to the Outerspaces, and hopefully we can keep connecting throughout the future, and lots of great things will come, I'm sure of it. So thanks again for your time.
All right, Neller, thanks for having me on, too.
Yeah, no problem. And thanks to the Toro Company for sponsoring the LCR Media Podcast. Until the next time, this is the Lawn Care Rookie signing off.
This has been an LCR Media and Mr. Producer production.